In life, we often give the best of our love, our effort, and our energy in places where our worth is neither valued nor respected. And when we do that, we don't just lose time, we lose peace, we lose confidence, and sometimes we even lose ourselves. Today, I want to remind you, don't sacrifice where you're not appreciated, because God never designed you to live small in places where your soul cannot breathe. My friends, every soul in this world is created with dignity, with purpose, and with divine light. Yet too often, we keep pouring our heart into people, places, or situations that don't see our true worth. We chase approval, hoping that if we give more, love more, or sacrifice more, one day someone will finally recognize us. But here's the truth: appreciation cannot be forced, and your value does not decrease just because someone is blind to it. God has placed within each of us a spark of greatness, and if someone or something cannot honor that spark, it is not your duty to keep dimming yourself for them. Your sacrifices are sacred when they are aligned with love, growth, and God's purpose. But they become painful when given to people who take you for granted. Just as a flower does not bloom in darkness, your soul cannot bloom in places where it is not appreciated. And so today, let us explore together why you must protect your energy, your heart, and your spirit, and learn to give where you are valued, respected, and uplifted. Your value comes from God, not from others. This is one of the most powerful truths you can ever hold close to your heart. Yet, in the world we live in, we often forget this. From childhood, we are conditioned to measure ourselves through the eyes of others. Whether it is grades in school, compliments from friends, approval from parents, or recognition at work. And slowly, without even realizing it, we start tying the worth of our being to the applause and acceptance of the world around us. We begin to believe that we are as valuable as the praise we receive and as useless as the criticism we face. But nothing could be further from the truth. Your true worth was never designed to be measured by the fleeting opinions of human beings. Human appreciation is inconsistent. It changes with moods, circumstances, and perceptions. One day you may be celebrated, and the very next day you may be criticized for the same thing. Think about this: a teacher may praise you for speaking up in class, but another teacher may scold you for speaking too much. A boss may applaud your dedication, but another may think you are simply trying to impress. If your worth depends on these shifting opinions, you will always be running in circles, chasing approval that has no foundation. Let me share with you a simple example. Imagine a $100 note. Whether it is brand new, neatly folded, or crumpled and dirty, it still carries the same value. You may crush it, throw it on the ground, or even step on it, but it will still be worth $100. Why? Because its value does not come from how it looks or how people treat it, but from the authority that created it. The same is true for you. Your worth does not decrease because someone fails to see it. Your value comes from the one who created you, the divine, the supreme God Himself. Think about the rising sun. Every morning it spreads light to the whole world, regardless of whether people acknowledge it or not. Some admire its beauty, while others pull the curtains and complain it is too bright. Yet the sun continues to shine. It does not stop shining because a few people dislike its presence. It does not dim its light because someone takes it for granted. Why? Because the sun knows its purpose comes from a higher order, not from human opinion. Similarly, your light, your purpose, and your value were given by God, not by the inconsistent appreciation of people. How many times in your life have you given your best effort and yet felt invisible? You may have worked tirelessly in your job, staying late nights, giving your full dedication, and still received no recognition. You may have sacrificed for family or friends, and yet they barely noticed. In those moments, you felt unappreciated, unseen, and maybe even unloved. But here's the lesson: the absence of appreciation does not mean the absence of value. Just because people fail to recognize the weight of your efforts does not mean those efforts are meaningless. God has seen them. Life has recorded them. And one day, in ways you cannot yet imagine, they will bear fruit. Let me give you a real life perspective. Have you ever seen a tree in its early days? A small seed is planted, hidden in the soil where no one sees it. For weeks and months, it struggles in darkness, sprouting roots deep into the earth, unseen by the world. No one applauds it, no one praises it, and no one even notices its struggle. Yet it continues to grow silently because it knows its value does not depend on being seen. And then one day it breaks through the ground, reaching for the sky. People admire its shade, its fruits, its flowers. But remember, before the admiration came, there was a long period of silence and invisibility. The seed had to know its worth even when no one else did. This is exactly how life works. You may not be applauded right now, you may not be celebrated, but if you stay true to your purpose, your time will come. And even if people never recognize you in the way you expect, know that your Creator already has. You were created with intention, with meaning, and with divine design. The oceans don't ask for applause to be mighty, and the stars don't ask for recognition to shine. They simply fulfill their purpose, knowing that their worth is not up for debate. So, stop measuring your worth through the mirror of others. Their blindness does not define your beauty. Their silence does not define your efforts. Their indifference does not erase your light. Just as gold remains gold, whether people recognize it or not, you remain valuable because God made you so. The next time you feel unappreciated, remind yourself of this truth: your value is eternal, untouched by opinions, and rooted in the one who designed the universe. People may overlook you, but God never will. And that is where your confidence, your peace, and your strength should always come from. Sacrifice without appreciation leads to emptiness. This is one of those truths that life teaches us slowly, sometimes painfully, but surely. Sacrifice in its purest form is a beautiful act. It is an offering of our time, our energy, our emotions, sometimes even our dreams, for the sake of someone or something we love. It is an expression of the heart. But what happens when this offering goes unnoticed? When it is taken for granted, when it is met with indifference instead of gratitude, what happens is that the very act that was meant to bring fulfillment begins to drain us, leaving behind only emptiness. Think about this in your own life. Maybe you have stayed up countless nights, helping a loved one, sacrificing your sleep, your comfort, your own needs. You gave with all your heart. But instead of a word of gratitude, instead of acknowledgement, you were met with silence. The next morning, they acted as if nothing had happened. That silence pierced deeper than any insult could. Why? Because sacrifice without appreciation does not nourish, it withers the heart. In every relationship, whether between friends, partners, family members, or even colleagues, sacrifice is like water. It nurtures the bond, helps it grow, and makes it stronger. But if the soil is ungrateful, if it does not absorb or value what is being poured into it, then slowly the water is wasted. You may continue pouring for a while out of love or duty, but eventually you feel dry, empty, and used. This is the cost of unappreciated sacrifice. Imagine a candle burning in the dark. It melts away, sacrificing itself to give light. But if no one notices, if no one values the light, what meaning does that sacrifice hold? The candle is still burning, but its flame is not being honored. That is what happens to us when we continue giving in spaces where appreciation is absent. We keep melting, giving and losing pieces of ourselves until one day we realize we have nothing left to give. Let's take another example. Have you ever worked in a place where your efforts were constantly overlooked? You put in extra hours, you gave your best ideas, you even carried the weight of others when they failed to do their part. And yet, instead of recognition, you were met with criticism, or worse, complete ignorance. You kept sacrificing because you thought eventually it would be noticed. But the truth is, without appreciation, those sacrifices only created frustration and burnout. Work that could have felt meaningful instead left you hollow. That is the emptiness that comes when our giving is not met with even the smallest acknowledgement. But let us also understand something deeper. Sacrifice itself is not the problem. The act of giving is sacred when it is done with love and aligned with purpose. The problem arises when it is given in the wrong place, or to the wrong people, or in a way that continuously depletes your spirit without replenishment. Just as a farmer does not keep watering dry, barren land that cannot yield a single crop, we must learn to recognize where our sacrifices are bearing fruit and where they are simply being wasted. There is a saying, appreciation is the food of the soul. Without it, the soul starves. A child who tries their best at school and never hears a word of encouragement begins to lose confidence. A partner who gives endlessly in a relationship without being acknowledged starts to feel unloved. A worker who sacrifices for their company without recognition eventually loses motivation. In all these situations, it is not the act of sacrifice that is the problem. It is the lack of appreciation that drains the spirit. Think of a musician who pours his heart into a performance. If the audience claps, he feels alive. His sacrifice of practice and effort feels worthwhile. But if the audience sits in silence, indifferent, the same music suddenly feels heavy, even painful. That is the difference appreciation makes. It is not about ego. It is about the basic human need to know that our giving has meaning, that our sacrifices are seen, and that our presence matters. However, it is also important to remember this. While human appreciation nourishes us, it should never be the only fuel that drives us. Because sometimes, no matter how much you give, some people will never appreciate you, not because you are unworthy, but because they are incapable of gratitude. In such moments, you must remind yourself that God sees what others overlook. Every effort, every sleepless night, every act of kindness that goes unnoticed is still recorded by the universe, still honored by the divine. Even when people fail to appreciate your sacrifice, know that it has not gone to waste. It has shaped your character, strengthened your soul, and brought you closer to the wisdom of discernment. But wisdom also demands that you do not keep sacrificing endlessly in places where appreciation is absent. Just as you would not keep pouring water into a leaking vessel, do not keep pouring yourself into people or situations that cannot hold your love, your effort, or your care. Protect your energy. Redirect your sacrifice to places where it is valued, where it can blossom into joy instead of emptiness. So, when you find yourself giving and giving, but feeling unseen, pause and ask, is my sacrifice serving love, or is it only draining me? If it is the latter, learn to step back, because a sacrifice without appreciation does not just cost your energy, it costs your spirit. And no soul was meant to live in emptiness. You deserve to give where your light is recognized, where your effort is valued, and where your sacrifice becomes a source of joy, not a burden of silence. Appreciation is the oxygen of relationships. Just as our bodies cannot survive without air, our relationships, whether with family, friends, partners, or colleagues, cannot thrive without appreciation. Appreciation is not just about saying, "Thank you." It is about seeing someone, truly recognizing their effort, their presence, their love, their sacrifices, and letting them know they matter. Without this oxygen, the bond slowly suffocates. With it, the relationship flourishes with life. Think for a moment about breathing. Most of us do not even notice it until the air feels heavy or until we struggle to catch our breath. In the same way, most people do not notice the need for appreciation until it is missing. When someone continues to give, to show up, to sacrifice, but never hears a word of acknowledgement, it is like asking them to live without air. They may survive for a while, but they will not thrive. Consider a simple example from daily life. A mother wakes up early, cooks breakfast, cleans the house, packs the children's bags, and ensures everything runs smoothly. She does this every single day, often without complaint. But if no one pauses to appreciate her, if everyone simply takes it as her duty, she begins to feel visible. Her love is still present, her care is still there, but her heart feels heavy because she gives is not being seen. Now imagine instead if her child said, "Mom, thank you for waking up early every day just for us. We love you." That small act of appreciation would fill her heart with strength more than sleep could. Why? Because appreciation breathes life into her sacrifices. This applies in every relationship. A husband who sacrifices his leisure time to provide for his family also longs to hear, "We are grateful for all you do." A friend who listens to you late at night needs to hear, "I don't know what I would do without you." A colleague who helps you finish a project needs acknowledgement, not just expectation. Without these words, without this recognition, the relationship begins to feel one-sided, like someone is holding their breath while the other is breathing freely. Think of appreciation as sunlight. Plants do not need grand gestures, they only need a little sunlight every day to keep growing. Relationships are the same. They don't always require expensive gifts or grand declarations. Often, it is the small but sincere expressions of appreciation that make the biggest difference. A smile, a kind word, a simple, "I notice what you do." These are rays of sunlight that keep the bond alive. When appreciation is absent, relationships start to suffocate. You may see people staying together physically, but emotionally they drift apart. A child may fulfill responsibilities towards parents, but without joy. A spouse may continue daily routines, but with a tired heart. A team may keep working, but without passion. The absence of appreciation dries up the joy of giving. The presence of appreciation, however, multiplies it. Think about your own experiences. Haven't there been times when someone unexpectedly appreciated you and suddenly your energy doubled? You may have been tired, ready to give up, but a single sentence of acknowledgement gave you strength to keep going. That is the power of appreciation. It revives the heart in ways material rewards cannot. One of the most dangerous assumptions in relationships is believing that people already know they are appreciated. Yes, maybe they do know, but knowing silently is not the same as hearing it aloud. Just as breathing requires a continuous flow of air, relationships require a continuous flow of expressed appreciation. Without it, people feel unseen, unheard, and unloved. And no matter how strong a bond may seem, it cannot endure long-term suffocation. There is a story about a wise teacher who told his students, If you want a relationship to last, water it daily with words of appreciation. One student asked, "But what if the other person already knows I value them?" The teacher replied, "If a plant knows the sun exists, does it stop needing sunlight?" The lesson is simple: we should never underestimate the life-giving power of appreciation. Now let's turn the mirror towards ourselves. How often do we stop to appreciate the people in our lives? How often do we thank the friend who checks on us, the sibling who stands by us, the parent who sacrifices silently, or even the stranger who shows us kindness? It is easy to complain when someone fails us, but do we celebrate when someone supports us? Appreciation requires mindfulness. It requires us to pause, to notice, and to express. The beautiful truth is, appreciation costs nothing. It requires no wealth, no special talent, no grand effort, just sincerity. Yet, the impact it creates is priceless. A sincere word of appreciation can heal wounds, strengthen bonds, and inspire someone to keep giving. It is a reminder that their presence matters, that their efforts are not invisible, and that their love is not taken for granted. So let us remember this in every relationship. Appreciation is not optional, it is essential. Just as we would never intentionally withhold air from someone we love, let us never withhold appreciation from those who give us their time, love, and care. Because when appreciation flows freely, love grows stronger, bonds deepen, and hearts feel alive. But when it is withheld, even the most beautiful relationships slowly suffocate. Breathe appreciation into your relationships daily. Notice the small things, speak words of gratitude, and let people know they matter. In doing so, you will not only keep your relationships alive, you will make them flourish with joy, harmony, and unshakable strength. Protect your energy like a sacred gift. Life has given you many treasures: time, health, relationships, and opportunities. But above all, the most delicate and powerful treasure is your energy. It is the force that allows you to wake up every morning, to give, to love, to create, and to serve. Yet, how often do we guard this treasure with the seriousness it deserves? Too often, we scatter it carelessly, on arguments that don't matter, on people who drain us, on tasks that steal our peace. Just like a lamp cannot shine if its oil is wasted, your soul cannot glow if your energy is constantly being consumed in places that do not nurture your spirit. Every morning when you wake up, you are given a certain amount of energy for the day. Think of it like the battery of your phone. If you use it wisely, on meaningful conversations, on loving connections, on fulfilling work, and on nourishing your soul, you end the day satisfied, knowing you invested your energy in what truly matters. But if you waste it on endless scrolling, negative people gossip, or chasing approval, you end the day drained, asking yourself why you feel so tired even though you did so much. The difference is not in how much you did, but in where you directed your sacred energy. Protecting your energy does not mean cutting yourself off from the world. It means becoming mindful of where your attention goes and how it affects your spirit. Imagine you have a wallet with limited money. Would you hand it out to anyone and everyone who asks, even to those who misuse it? Of course not. You would be wise with it, spend it carefully, and invest it in what brings returns. The same should be true for your energy. It is a currency far more valuable than money. Once it is spent in the wrong places, it rarely returns. Think of your daily life. How often do you find yourself caught in arguments that steal your peace? Perhaps at work, a colleague criticizes you unfairly. You replay their words in your mind for hours, maybe even days, giving them your energy long after the moment has passed. Or maybe at home, You try endlessly to please someone who never sees your effort. Slowly, you feel exhausted, not because of the act of giving, but because your energy was poured into a space that only drains, not uplifts. Protecting your energy means recognizing these patterns and learning to step away. One of the most powerful ways to protect your energy is by setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors that you control. They allow love, respect, and positivity to flow in while keeping out the negativity that depletes you. If someone constantly disrespects you, it is not your duty to keep sacrificing your peace for their approval. Protecting your energy might mean walking away from conversations that turn toxic, saying no to tasks that overwhelm you, or distancing yourself from people who thrive on negativity. This is not selfishness, it is self-preservation. Because only when your energy is full can you serve others with love and presence. Think of an example from nature. A river flows beautifully, nourishing land and life along its banks. But if too many channels are dug to divert its water, eventually the river runs dry. Similarly, if you allow too many drains on your energy, people who take without giving, habits that weaken instead of strengthen, you will find yourself empty. But if you allow your energy to flow mindfully, only towards places that value and respect it, you will remain full and capable of nourishing others. Protecting your energy also means choosing your environment wisely. If you place a fresh flower in clean water, it blossoms beautifully. But if you put it in dirty water, it withers quickly. In the same way, your spirit is deeply affected by the environment you surround yourself with. Negative company, constant complaints, endless gossip, these are the dirty waters that make your spirit wilt. Uplifting company, inspiring conversations, and time spent in God's remembrance, these are the clean waters that help your soul bloom. Choose carefully, because where you place yourself directly determines how your energy flows. Sometimes, protecting your energy also means protecting your inner dialogue. The harshest drain on our spirit often comes not from others, but from within. When you keep criticizing yourself, comparing yourself, or doubting your worth, you are draining your own energy. Just as you wouldn't allow someone else to constantly insult you, don't allow your own mind to steal your peace. Speak to yourself kindly, remind yourself of your value, and nourish your energy with positive self-talk. Above all, never forget that your energy is not just physical, it is spiritual. Every act of kindness, every prayer, every moment of silence in God's remembrance recharges your soul. Protecting your energy means making time for stillness, reflection, and connection with the divine. When you align with God's presence, your energy is purified, your spirit is strengthened, and no external negativity can disturb your inner balance. So treat your energy as the sacred gift it is. Guard it from those who drain it, invest it in those who uplift you, and recharge it in the presence of God. Because at the end of the day, your energy is your life. Spend it wisely, and your life will flourish. Waste it carelessly, and you will find yourself empty even in the midst of abundance. Protect it, nurture it, and let it glow as a source of light for yourself and for the world. Sacrifice in the right place brings growth. This is a truth that transforms the way we live, because not all giving is equal. Sacrifice by itself is not automatically noble. It becomes noble when it is offered in the right spirit, at the right time, and in the right place. Giving your energy, your time, your love, and your effort to the wrong place will only leave you drained. But when you direct that same sacrifice into the right soil, it multiplies into blessings, fulfillment, and growth, not just for others, but for yourself as well. Think of a farmer planting seeds. If he throws them into dry, barren land, no matter how many seeds he sacrifices, no crop will grow. He can water it every day, tend to it tirelessly, but nothing will come of it because the land is not fertile. Now imagine he plants those same seeds in rich soil with the same amount of sacrifice, watering, nurturing, protecting. The seeds sprout into strong plants and eventually bear fruits. The difference was not the sacrifice, it was the place where the sacrifice was made. The same applies to our lives. Sacrifice in the wrong place leaves us empty. Sacrifice in the right place helps us and others grow. Consider relationships. You may sacrifice endlessly for someone who does not see your worth, giving them your time, love, and care, only to receive neglect or indifference in return. That sacrifice will leave you drained because it has no ground to grow. But if you give the same love and attention to someone who values it, appreciates it, and reciprocates it, that relationship blossoms. Your sacrifice becomes a source of joy, not of pain. It strengthens both of you and helps the bond grow deeper. The act of giving is the same, but the outcome depends on where you choose to place it. Think about work. You may give your heart to a job where your values are not respected, where your effort is constantly overlooked, and where the environment drains your spirit. The sacrifices you make there, late nights, missed meals, lost moments with loved ones, only leave you feeling resentful and tired. But if you invest your sacrifice in work that aligns with your values, that allows you to grow, that uplifts others, the same long hours and effort feel meaningful. The difference is that in one place, your sacrifice feeds emptiness, in the other, it creates growth. Even in friendships, the same truth applies. A friend who only remembers you when they need something will drain your sacrifice. But a friend who stands with you in both joy and sorrow, who values your presence and acknowledges your efforts, turns your sacrifices into a source of strength. In such relationships, the more you give, the more both of you grow. Sacrifice in the right place also teaches us patience. Growth does not always come instantly. Just as a seed takes time to sprout, your sacrifices may take time to bear fruit. But if you know the soil is fertile, you can wait with peace. For example, a student sacrificing late nights to study may not see results the very next day. But in the right place, aligned with education and learning, the sacrifice eventually blossoms into success. A parent sacrificing sleep and comfort for their child may not be appreciated immediately. But in the right place, nurturing the growth of a life, the sacrifice eventually produces love, respect, and legacy. On the other hand, sacrifice in the wrong place teaches us exhaustion. You give and give, but nothing grows. You wait and wait, but no harvest comes. This is why discernment is so important. Knowing where to place your sacrifice. It requires you to pause and ask, is this place, this person, this effort helping me and others grow? Or is it only draining me? Let me share an example from nature. A tree gives shade and fruit selflessly, but it does not try to grow in the desert where nothing can survive. It roots itself in fertile ground where its giving is received, where its sacrifice of water and nutrients becomes growth for itself and for others. In the same way, your sacrifice should be rooted in spaces that can nourish your giving, not waste it. Sacrifice in the right place also connects us to God's purpose. When we give with sincerity in the service of love, compassion, and truth, our sacrifice is never wasted. Even if people do not see it, the universe does. Even if the world does not applaud it, God does. A teacher who sacrifices her time to educate children may not always hear gratitude, but her efforts shape the future. A volunteer sacrificing comfort to help the needy may not be celebrated, but their sacrifice plants seeds of hope in hearts that need it most. In such spaces, sacrifice always brings growth, growth in character, growth in faith, growth in the soul. The beauty of sacrificing in the right place is that it doesn't just benefit others, it transforms you. It makes you stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. It teaches you resilience and deepens your connection to what truly matters. It helps you see that sacrifice is not about loss, but about transformation. It turns your effort into growth, your pain into purpose, and your giving into legacy. So never stop sacrificing, but be mindful of where you place it. Do not waste your sacred energy on barren land that cannot grow your giving. Instead, invest it in fertile soil, relationships that value you, work that uplifts you, causes that align with your spirit, and spaces where God's presence can guide your efforts. When you sacrifice in the right place, you don't just lose something, you gain everything. You grow, you flourish, and you light up the world with your presence.